How's it?
Good yourself?
Good. How's it, Avish?
Hey, good, buddy.
Good.
Yeah. Let's just give the guys a minute also before we start. So I'm just going to share my screen in the meantime. Yeah. Hi guys. Yeah, I think we're gonna start now. So I just wanted to give some other guys a few minutes to join. I see that more people joining. We'll start now in the next few seconds. Cool, guys. Yeah, welcome to another session. And yeah, today we've got 3 guests, and so I want to see if we are good to go. Okay, cool. Yeah, so Avesh, I want you to introduce yourself. I also have Mbumi here. He's the head of UX at Old Mutual. I just want you guys just to quickly introduce yourselves so that the audience can know who's here with us today.
Sure. Hi everyone. Good evening. I'm uh, I'm here based in India, working in Delhi. Uh, I've been in uh, uh, app development, software app development for like last 15 years. I've worked with companies like STC. I've also worked with company like we have in India like MapMind, it's a Google of India. I have primarily been into product role throughout, so that gave me good, idea about how the designers community, the UI UX people. I've worked with them very closely, so that's that's give me a very good idea how these guys like to work and what the problem areas where they want to explore. So last couple of years, I've been primarily working into AI space. I am a CTO currently within organization called Unis Lab. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Over to you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's just me. So Mbumi, are you also asking about the sound?
Yeah.
Okay, am I
I think
clear?
Avesh. Yeah, you're clear. I think Avesh, there's some clipping in your audio.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Greetings, everyone. I see Lindokuhle Mahlangu from FNB has joined us, and there's Regina Labene Mensah. Could you please, greet us, say hi, and let us know which country you're from? Yeah, and then we'll greet you back. Yeah, so please, guys, just try to engage whoever is joining us, whether you're joining us via Twitter, YouTube, or LinkedIn. Yeah. So please. Yeah. So guys, I'm not sure. Someone needs to mute. If you are on LinkedIn, please just close the tab. Sharon, I'm not sure if you're able to join us because I can see that you are on the guest list here on Restream. But anyways, okay, cool. I can see. Can you please say something, Sharon? Or can you please turn on your camera? Okay, sure, cool. I can see you. Okay, sure. Yeah, I hope you'll be able to speak. So cool, guys. Yeah, so today we're gonna talk about sorry. Okay, guys. So please just mute yourself, and you can unmute when you need to speak. Yeah. So today we're going to talk about artificial intelligence and machine learning based use cases for designers. And yeah, so before we do that, we had a live design battle last Friday, and we had this was like a fun event, very exciting event where a lot of designers coming from different countries, Kenya, Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria, South Africa, Ghana, etc. And yeah, so I want to congratulate Sharon. chap called Edge from Kenya, you know, for winning our first live design battle. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So now what? Yeah. Yeah. I hope you had fun. So I thought, yeah, you know, let's just bring you in, so at least people can see that, you know, there's a real face, you know, behind the winner. Cool. So what I want us to do is, you know, to kick off our session. And so Avesh Chauhan is based in India. So we're going to talk about, you know, artificial intelligence and machine learning based use cases. He's got a session planned for sometime next year in May. You know, so he will be coming back. And because this topic is quite intensive, you know, we can't, you know, spend an hour on it, right? So what he will do today is basically, you know, he will, you know, add on the content that we'll share. We'll share some like very like light, you know, like use cases, and then he can also like, you know, add some technical, you know, perspective to it. And yeah, so we've prepared some few examples. We've had this, you know, session. The first one was done by Mbumi, and you know, people felt that, you know, we needed, you know, to have another one. And as we prepared, you know, the content again, you know, we saw that we'll also need, you know, a third session, you know. But yeah, so cool, guys. Let me jump straight into it. I hope you guys can hear me loud and clear.
If you can see, hear, taste, or smell something, does that make it real? Or is it simply the ability to feel? I would like to welcome you to the era of synthetic reality. Now, what do you see? If you
So yeah, I hope, guys, you heard that, and I hope you saw the video. Just give me a thumbs up if you did. Okay, cool. Yeah, so basically, I mean, you know, the number of scenarios, you know, deepfake videos is one of them, right? This is a great opportunity for us as designers, right? This is an awesome way of delivering and engaging content, especially like in the education space, right? This could be, you know, financial education, or this could be, you know, education, you know, in the context of university, you know, high school, or maybe communities, right? And if you can't like replicate yourself, right, you know, you'll be able to actually, you know, use a deep fake video, right? And also it's not just about, you know, the visuals, it's also about the audio. I will share, you know, an example like later on. And the other one is like the text to speech, right? We've seen, you know, well, actually we've had a few, you know, videos that are circulating, right, where people are like mimicking superstars like Elon Musk, you know, Trump, you know, maybe one of these like, you know, famous presidents, etc. Right? And this is an opportunity. That means that, you know, even though the people who are influencers, the ones who mainly like, you know, write content, and they don't produce like the visuals, you know, they don't show themselves, right? They just like write, you know, articles, etc. Right? It's also an opportunity for them, you know, to share content in a different way, by converting, you know, the text-based content that they have into speech, right? So that people can engage and listen. That means if you've got like articles, you can even turn them into like podcasts, right? So that's like really the capability, right? And this allows us to, you know, to create, you know, video explainers as well, you know, much faster. And you can even, you know, have a fake, well, I'm calling it fake, you know, a brand ambassador, instead of like, you know, sponsoring a real human being, you know, that can make mistakes. You know, someone can get drunk, they can say stupid thing, and they can damage your brand, etc. Right? So this is also like an opportunity. Obviously, you know, with a human being, you know, there's that like, you know, human factor element, right? That's where the power of influencing comes in. But it's also an opportunity, right, to create, you know, a non-human being brand ambassador that can actually, you know, engage with the audience. and I'm sure you've heard a lot of like, even the ads on, that we hear about these big companies. We hear these ads, we hear these voices, we hear Siri, but we've never had Siri, but we get to, relate to Siri, right? And that means even with Siri, right, she can produce, a content at scale. So yeah, this is like one of the examples.
Making videos and images is a sophisticated and technical process. In this 64-part course,
No, we don't have time for this.
1, 2, 3, 4.
oh, what about my video?
So yeah, this is another, use case. It's a rich one, right? If you've tried to attempt to do video editing, you've seen, how hectic it can get, right? But now with like such tools like Runway, right, you'll be able to, have an assisted, AI to help you to quickly edit. If you want to like remove objects, right? Especially like if you have to remove and manipulate like objects like in motion, which gets like really like hard to do and to get it right. Because the machine can learn that this is the object that you want to remove, and once you tell it, it will be able to pick up and define the regions, etc. Right? Motion tracking, and this is like one of the big innovative solutions that we've seen. Even with the drone, you can fire it up, and you can even use like gestures and actually set it so that it can follow you, right? You can set the object, it can detect it, and once it has identified that object, it can move around the object while it's still detecting obstacles, etc. Right? The green screen, a lot of people used to buy these like physical like green screens. Nowadays, more solutions are getting advanced. You've seen Microsoft Teams, where you can put your virtual background, and that was something that was typically done if you only could use a green screen sheet. So now you don't have to buy a green sheet, to do like a decent job. Obviously, if you're doing like a professional job, you probably still need to get it. But it does, the software itself does like a decent job, right? Text to image, being able to type, for the machine learning and artificial intelligence to figure out what exactly are you looking for, right? If I'm maybe, if you're busy doing a presentation and you often have to go to Google Images, to type for a specific image. Imagine now with this capability, that means you can even search for stuff in real time and actually like return and display those images. And this use case, this use case is so rich. It means that instead of having like static images on our digital experiences, whether it's an app or a website, right? You can even customize and render images on the go, right? And depending on the strategy that you use, right, for your content, instead of having something static, you can have more like a dynamic content, and you can even study and understand, the user, that is using your product. So I'll also like show an example later on. Yeah, so I just want to pause a bit. I just want to see if maybe someone wants to add, to what we are sharing, or maybe if there are any comments. I'm not sure if Avesh, you want to like elaborate on anything that I've shared so far.
I guess I'm audible to everyone.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, cool, guys.
Okay.
So I'm seeing. Yeah, sorry, like Avesh. Yeah, it's a pity, man, because your sound is quite. yeah, better on our side. I don't know if it has gotten better for you, Mpumi.
Nah, it hasn't gone better.
Okay.
Struggling.
Okay, cool. Cool. So yeah, I'm seeing some questions here, which I'll come back to. Yeah, so just give me a moment. I see there's a question about how will it be regulated. Yeah, so guys, please make sure that you mute yourselves if you've got LinkedIn or any other platform that is streaming this session live. Otherwise, the sound will keep on playing back. Okay, so yeah, as I said, I'll come back to you. Lindo Kuhle, Charles Maguri, I see some comments. I also see comments from you, Zoisile, and the rest. So let me just continue, right?
80% of what people play on Netflix actually comes from the recommendation algorithm. So it's a really big lever for Netflix. It's a really important part of what we do.
So I hope that most of you have noticed this while you are watching Netflix, right? Probably you would notice it maybe if you watch the same movie or series on someone's account, right? So let's talk about recommendations, right? How do they do this, right? So, obvious algorithms, monitoring the kind of content that you've watched, the series that you've watched, the movies that you've liked, etc., right? And then it can see, okay, cool, maybe this person is into a particular type of content. Content could be maybe, I don't know, horror movies, could be, comedy, maybe stand-up comedy, or maybe, South African, content, or maybe, Kenyan-based content, etc., right? Or even maybe the type of language that's being used in the content, right? And it can even check, what are the similar movies that you're likely to, to like. And so the likeliness, can be based on a number of factors, right? The obviously, the language, and there's, probably, even the actors that are in the movie and the type of movie, and it could be even be based on the title, right? If the title of the movie has got a certain theme, right? More than just, because you can go a bit deep into categories, right? You can go to subcategories, to really to deeply understand, what would be ideal, for the watcher. And something that also they do well is the auto-generated thumbnails. So when you browsing the series, right, or maybe the top 10 trending in South Africa or whichever country, right, for the very same movie, you might see a different thumbnail. And because maybe I've enjoyed watching a movie from a particular actor, and they might use the very same actor if that actor is featuring in another movie, right? Even though that actor is not the main actor, but because they know that you are likely to watch that movie because of that particular actor. So yeah, and sorry guys, I got distracted a bit there. There's someone who wants to join. So yeah, I mean, there's more to this, right? Because the use of images, they are so powerful. The thumbnails, even on YouTube, you want to make something that is attractive, right? You want to understand your audience better, and you want to understand what works for them, right? And even though you've got a title of the movie, but the thumbnails, they're so powerful, right? And it's easy for people to scan them. They can quickly check the faces. They can quickly check what the movie is about in terms of the clues that are given on the thumbnail, right? So that's why they've put so much like effort, because of the power of the thumbnails. And people, they're lazy, you don't want to rate a lot. You want to use those like factors, based on, the trending stuff, based on, what is relevant to you, so relevant to me could be relevant to my country because I care about this, because everyone else is talking about this on Twitter, right? And also to get a sense of what is going on, right? Being able to link like and use like big data to understand, what people are talking about, and changing and recommending the content, based on the most like talked topics, right? Even like some songs. We've seen this like even on Spotify, right? There's this like song by Chris Brown. It's been around for some time, but now it's like trending like number 2. I was like surprised, because it one might think it's the latest song, but the song has been around for some time. But anyways, so customized AI-driven movie highlights, right? So we often get like that people historically that have been employed, to watch movies, and that's their job, to watch movies, to analyze and to pick like key like critical moments, so that they can package them, and create movie highlights. And as part of that, they have to like rate, is if this like content is suitable for kids or not, if it's like one of those highly like rated content, right? And so because we can train the machines, right, we can code the the rules, then the AI becomes like clever and gets better, right, to understand what are the key moments, right? And obviously, it's always better to get to have like human beings to supervise the process. But at some point, when you're producing like movies, like content at a very very like large scale, right, you need to find ways to optimize your process. And also, even for the same movie, right, you don't have to have the same movie highlights. You can have different like scenes, right, depending on the customer, right? That means you can customize to that level. And then you can even test and check, okay, via machine learning, how many people are actually responding. If a lot of people are responding to a particular movie highlight, maybe let's say AI has created maybe like 10 movie highlights for the same movie, and it can test and check, okay, out of 10 people seem to be like responding well to version 2, and then they can start pushing that, right? And as the machine learns how people are responding to particular content, it can pick up certain like patterns, and we can start delivering like better like movie highlights, right? Just like when you go to Netflix, you automatically like you see a movie or series that plays, right? In a series, which scene do you pick, right? It's always like a difficult one, right? Because you need to test and learn, right, and optimize on the go, right? So that's where the power comes in. And yeah, I hope that we can relate to this example, different context. Again, I'll show you some examples, I'll highlight, so that you can look at these examples, because they are more than just AI and machine learning for Netflix. So let's talk about LinkedIn, right?
Yeah, to me, I think before you move on to LinkedIn,
Sure.
I wanted to probably raise one of the debates that have come up, and I think last time we spoke about this, people were talking about biases and AI going wrong, or machine learning going wrong at certain times.
Yeah,
and
sure.
And specifically on the Netflix personalization strategy, right? So to your point, right, they've automated, they've got some machine learning that essentially helps them automate all the thumbnails and all the and the previews that you see, right? And what was happening is that obviously Black people will tend to then see, like if you watch a lot of Black content, you'll tend to then see movie covers or thumbnails that have Black actors on them, right? Now that started to create a problem, right? Because let's say maybe you follow who's a black actor that's not A-list. Yeah, who cares? Let's say you follow Idris Elba, but Idris Elba just happens to in this movie really just show up in one scene.
Yeah.
Right? Now the algorithm will go and display Idris Elba on the thumbnail of that movie, right?
Yeah.
So you're expecting that this is an Idris Elba movie,
Yeah, sure.
and you watch the whole thing only to find out that Idris Elba is in like one scene there, right? He's in 5 minutes of the movie.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And that became a problem because now it's now getting down to just basically just stereotypes, right? And not really anything that's useful, and it's actually quite misleading now, right? It's like,
Yeah.
shucks, I watched this entire movie only to realize that I'm thinking maybe this character is going to enter somewhere in the middle and stay throughout the movie, but no, it was just one scene. So those were some of the things that then needed to be tweaked, and I'm not sure how well they've been tweaked yet. I'm not convinced they have, right? But this is one of the things that was a debate about specifically about the Netflix algorithm, because it was starting to mislead people, right? It was working too well in one sense.
Yeah.
But it was starting to mislead people. But yeah, I mean, it's a good use case. It's a brilliant one.
Yeah. So I mean, look, right. This is the reality with technology, right? Once you experiment with it, you'll get a few use cases right, and you will get those cases where your primary case is challenged and it gets diluted. It actually dilutes the experience, right? And the question really is, what are the lessons learned? And so now, instead of just picking that one actor that features for a minute out of like 45 minutes or out of an hour, right? Then the question would be, right, at least the recommendation has to have some like weight, right? Maybe that person has to feature maybe more than 30%. Yeah. Because,
Sorry to jump in between. I mean,
sure,
I
sure.
really find this discussion very captivating, and I wanted to give my 2 cents in.
Yeah, much clear now, eh?
Yeah, I just switched my system, so probably that helps. See, I mean, that's a very valid point. One of the things that we tend to forget is that AI in itself is at a very raw stage right now. It's not a totally, matured field, right? And another thing that we need to remember is AI is data hungry. It needs data set to support, and it needs huge amount of data set. You showed some amazing things in your videos, the deep fake and everything. A lot of it is, all these big players can do it. They have huge amount of data set around it. But still, some part will go missing. Like you just mentioned a case, wherein uh, it can be biased, wherein it's tend to focus on one thing, and then that becomes, your history becomes, suppose you visit something, then Google run an algo around it and you are being shown same thing. That doesn't mean that's always your hobby or that's your interest. You have your for example, in Netflix, you may like to watch some other genre where, if you watch a horror movie, that doesn't mean you are always you will be shown in horror. So that's something, the logic and common sense still need to be there. When that comes, that's why the designers, the UX role, the product role come into there. They need to understand what are the loopholes and how you need to pitch the product. That's why, you see Netflix, you see Amazon. It's not totally recommended. You would still have something that they want to be shown. So there's not always, it's not totally filled with recommended thing. Having said that, they're collecting data. They're still exploring. New models are coming in which are becoming better. Somebody said Spotify algo is much better than Netflix. Probably they have cracked it, right? They have, but I mean, it's it's something that Netflix will improve. They'll have better algos. So as they collect more data, that's going to get better for sure. But yeah, for now there may be some bias, and that will be there.
Yeah, sure, definitely, definitely. I mean, to your point, right? It's an iterative, approach that that we need to take. As we learn, we need to refine, and it's also an opportunity for us to be able to pick the solid like use cases, right? And same applies with self-driving cars, right? Sure, there's still a lot of complaints, and but that doesn't mean that we should give up, as long that we're seeing a lot of like good use cases, right? And some of these like use cases, I mean, have been brilliant, especially those ones that are like clearly defined, and especially those ones that have got low risk, right? And if you do video editing, for yourself, the risk is minimum. If something goes wrong, you can still oversee the process, etc.
Totally agree. Uh,
Yeah.
Sorry, one. So, if you look at these use cases also, and when you say AI also, it tends to say, that it's going to solve everything. There's still a human need for it. It
Yeah.
still has to be controlled by a human. That's why there will still be designers required who will tell AI that I want this particular segment to be cut, right? So the human intervention is still required, and it will be. It would be in future also.
Yeah, sure. No, definitely, definitely. I'm assuming that you guys can still see my screen, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So let's talk about LinkedIn, right? A lot of times you'll see relevant job recommendation. Again, a good use case. Sometimes it tends to be straightforward, unless like you've got like a job title and your job history that is a bit complicated, right? If you've had like a stable career, and you didn't just move from being a musician to maybe an actor, and maybe into becoming a UX designer, right? Because the job recommendations will be a hit and miss, right? But if you've got like more data that LinkedIn can pick up, right? If they can easily pick up a pattern, you'll tend to get like more relevant job opportunities. And also the other challenge is LinkedIn having to understand the seniority of these job recommendations, right? Are they offering you something that is at the same level that as you currently, or something higher, right? And also for them to be able to understand how much of the relevant experience do we have that matches with the job offer, right? So I mean, to some extent, right, the recommendation is decent enough, and it's getting better over time. And I mean, again, we live in a complex world. So the other thing that I want to talk about is encouraging users to connect with relevant people. So you'll see this a lot of times, where if you're a designer, maybe whether you're motion designer, interaction, or UX or UI designer, you tend to see more of the people that are relevant to your field or to your specific interest, right? So some companies like Spotify, right? Yes, they can ask you maybe when you sign up, but they tend to listen and get to understand you over time, right? It's a similar concept that is being used on the music apps, providing users with helpful content in their feed. So because their main game is to get you to be engaged, to keep coming, to keep consuming content, right? And the number of ways they have to ask those questions, right? What makes a person to come to LinkedIn, right? What is important to them, right? Is the type of connections that they have, is the job opportunities, right? So no one gave a damn about LinkedIn, about probably maybe 10 years ago, maybe 8 years ago, 7 years ago, or something. It was a place where people feel like they just need to go and dump their CV and hope that someone who's looking for them can match, right? It was not as active as it used to be, right? Over time, I mean, LinkedIn has like really grown that so fast, right? In the last like probably couple 5 years, right? And because their strategy now moved from just from just being a job listing, a portal, to a more like engaging social, a platform, right? So what does it mean, right, to have a social platform in the context of because in context of the working space, right? So yes, you can steal a lot of the lessons, right? From TikTok, from Twitter, Facebook, etc., right? And so they have to still make the platform to be different, right, from others, right? And they also need to understand, the users deeply, right? What really matters to them, right? You will see now, you can even, people used to be bothered by a lot by recruiters because the recruiters, they didn't know who is open to work, right? And so in some cases, they need to, as they enhance their experience, they need to identify what are the activities that can be manually driven by their customers, and what are the activities that can be automated, right? And also, what kind of data do they need in order to automate those activities? So you have to be intentional about what data do you want to feed to machine learning, because big data is meaningless when there's no intention when it comes to usage, right? And also not asking people for the relevant information, because you want to ask people the relevant information so that I can make the relevant decisions. So I mean, as you've seen, they will keep on asking you questions. Those questions, they build up because they want to understand you better, because they want to make decisions that they can automate, right, with an intention to drive engagement. Anyways, let me pause. So I wanted to show you guys a quick example. This is a FAQ demo, and let me see. I think I'm only sharing this tab. I need to share my entire screen now. Just want to switch quickly. So Yambumi and Avesh, please guys jump in if you want to add something.
Sure. So, I mean, one is the demo you are showing. I'll advise everybody to look. There's something called OpenAI.
Yeah.
And so to viewers, go into the portal. It's very easy to access. They have the entire. They show how using text you can convert that into images, and then they have tutorials where it's very. I mean, you don't need to be a developer to understand it. You can create amazing things using that, just like the example you are showing.
Yeah, I think the other thing, when I think about this LinkedIn use case, and I think we're gonna see LinkedIn, still further evolve into some broader contexts around if you think about things like training and qualifications, and even verification of qualifications, and all of those things, right? With the amount of people that are there, and the sort of personalization starting to get better, right? 5 or so years ago, you used to get some really random job suggestions from LinkedIn, and you've kind of seen how much better they've gotten. But you can kind of see that the ML use cases are getting more and more advanced, right? In terms of now the recommendations for training and courses, and how that can link into other digital or online learning platforms. So that's going to be interesting once some of those data sources also start to come together. That's going to be, I think, where machine learning starts to go, and the use cases that LinkedIn starts to cater for. Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
interesting. And it's not all that risky for the most part, the stuff that they're doing, because they're still managing to kind of have a fail safe to say, okay, cool, there's something that we're doing, but you can still kind of overcome, or the failure cases, so to speak, are not necessarily harmful at this point in time. But it's really about, I think it's once again something that proves that it's really about also taking risks in your hypotheses, right? It's really about taking risks and saying, we think that this could improve the experience, although it might not be perfect from the get-go.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I think about when I talk about when I think about this thing of taking risks was YouTube Music, right? I think when they started, like, even though you've been watching music videos on YouTube forever, and when they launched YouTube Music, it was like a blank slate. They just asked you, hey, what of these artists do you like? Yes, that the priority of the artists that they listed may have been based on what you've done online, but it was as if you hadn't been watching music or listening to music on YouTube for years before that. And I think that they could have taken a chance, right?
Yeah.
Then they could have taken a chance and said, now we think we know what you want. If we're wrong, then go ahead and search, go ahead and elaborate and select other artists. And I thought it was a really, really failed opportunity. And I think YouTube could have done something there to really, really, really compete with Spotify in that use case. But yeah, it was a missed opportunity.
Yeah, no, definitely. So let me I want to share this. Just give me a thumbs up if you can see.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Can you see? Can you guys see?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, sure. Cool. Yeah, so here I've typed a message, and I've used fakeU.com, right? So what I want to do is I want to ask you guys, right? So I'm gonna play, and I want you to tell me if you could hear whose voice is it that's speaking. And so I've typed this sentence, and I'm just gonna play.
To experience design, we have big news for you on the 17th of May 2023. This is only exclusive to the African design community. Welcome to Experience Design. We have big news for you on the 17th of May 2023. This is only exclusive to the African design community.
That's great.
I think I know who that sounds like.
Yeah.
Is that Tupac?
Yeah. So basically, what I've done is, I can pick a particular artist, or I can search by, a category, etc., and type the content, and this thing will do the magic. So I can say it's a beautiful first day in Sandton. Okay, I don't know if Tupac knows Sandton, but let's see.
It's a beautiful Thursday in Sandton.
Yeah. So anyways, yeah, I mean, you can go and experiment, choose, different people, etc., right? Yeah, so the nice thing about is that, you can experiment, and I mean, of course, you need to write, like your sentences like properly, right? And hopefully you can use like language that can be like universal understood, etc. Yeah, but it's not bad, because even I, when I was playing around with this, like, okay, this is nice, not bad. But yeah, and I think because we've gone from the era where we had like a standard voice, and a lot of people, like even in the social media space, they used to use this like standard voice, right? And now, as the technology like evolves, right, as it gets better, you can even do an AI generated, sorry, your own AI generated voice, using machine learning, and obviously you need to speak, and share a lot of data so it can pick up and store and recognize the words and the tone, etc. Right? So it's very, very easy to get data off public figures, because there's a lot of content available, because they've spoken so many times publicly. So that's why it's much easier for such platforms to use their content as a use case.
This actually is a very nice example, how AI has thrown up. I'll give you an example, say like 10 years back, when we used to have these apps where we needed this, the voice from, you used to hire people, look for freelancers, and, look for various voices, try, test, and how easy now it is to create content, just go to any, you show one classic example. There are a lot of websites where you go and create any voice, use anybody you want to use, in fact with your voice also. So the content because that the content creation is very easy now, and the bit still remains is, it still needs creativity, so that hasn't gone away. It's just that you need to be now creative. It's given you flexibility to use,
Yes.
so that's the beauty of it, I guess.
Yeah, sure. No, but no, definitely. I think when you know what needs to be done, it gets a bit easier, So I want to share this other example, and I've just done like a very like dirty, like quick mock-up. So imagine that you have to log in, to some website, and they have your profile picture or your video, right? Just like on LinkedIn now, you can upload your video instead of just having a flat picture, right? You, as soon as you log in, you will see an advert. Yeah, so basically what has happened here is that, they say this was my profile picture on the top there. And instead of just, playing an advert, you can actually imagine yourself in it, right? So this caption says, don't imagine it, see yourself actually driving the new M2 Beast. So you can have an image of yourself as being part of the advert, driving that car, just like how LinkedIn, when they do a job recommendation, they use your profile picture to convince you, and it's like, oh, I can already see myself working for a particular company, right? Obviously, you need to be able to analyze the face, get some few data, maybe the customer has shared maybe like a few images, or maybe even video profile that they have used for their platform. You can start like analyzing, right? And you can also shoot the advert in a very, very simple way, so that it's not complicated for machine learning to be able to pick up and to produce this content in real time, right? And some of these things can be done behind the scenes and be prepared, especially for those like customers who frequently use your solution, right? And as you know, that it's very powerful to always like use content that a person can relate to, right? So going from like people like you to you, as the customer, being immersed in that experience, right? So yeah, I mean, it's one of the examples. And other one is, again, some concepts about once you get to understand the person, what they like, their culture, etc. Right? You can even start, let's say if someone wanted to get married, you can start generating, content that speaks to them, right? Maybe in South Africa we've got, various, cultures like Zulu, Xhosa, Ndebele, Swati, Africans, etc. Right? So here, if I was in Eastern Cape, I could, see, a couple that I can relate to, right? Maybe if I'm in Limpopo, same thing happens. Okay, and yeah, so like again, right? As I said, the content can be generated, in real time or behind the scenes, and can be prepared, etc. Right? But the main point is that just like in this case, right? I could be viewing this very same page. If I was Indian, maybe I'll be seeing, married couple. I mean, Indian couples getting married, and have content contextualized, to that culture, etc. Right? And even, the details of the video, right, can be personalized. And for the very same page, you can still get the core content that the journey is about, right? It's about getting married, and you can still get value out of it, right? And you can even, use influencers that the customer can relate to. And, in this case, I'm seeing, Financial Bunny. She's one of the well-known, YouTubers in South Africa. She talks a lot about finance. And in this case, right, you could see maybe if an influencer in India, an influencer maybe in Kenya, Morocco, etc. Right? Anyways, so moving on, right? Even with big data, right, we can start putting information, updating it, right? If you want to know about the cost of getting married, and instead of just manually capturing the information, right, we can start getting the data from different sources, right? What is the cost of a venue? What is the cost of food or alcohol, right, per head, etc. Right? And if you can pull the data maybe from different waiting agencies, and pull from shops that are selling engagement rings, you can pull an average, going from simple to to a fancy wedding, and you can pull information relevant to that, and you can feed in this information into your application, generate it, render it in real time, right? And as the economy changes, as the prices changes, maybe even some things might become a bit less relevant, right? That means we still need to go back and check. Okay, cool. Is our cost of getting married, content still relevant, right? Obviously, we still need to guide, the generation content, verify it and check, right? So, because sometimes you might find that you've dealt with a very, very simple use case, because the world is so complex, right? It's evolving, and it is like an opportunity to learn, right? And the other use case that I want to talk about, even recommending financial advisors, just like we've seen on Netflix or LinkedIn, right? We can borrow the same concepts, right, and approach, because you can deeply understand the customer, where they are in their life stage, what their needs are, what they're looking for, what concerns them, etc. Right? And instead of going through an intensive, journey of finding a relevant advisor, because people are lazy. That's why Netflix is thriving, because they know that people don't want to go through thousands of content, movies, series, etc. Although it was nice, in the beginning, to have number of options, but we don't want to overthink, the entire process, right? We want to get to know what's relevant to us, whatever key factors that we use, right? Similarly in the financial services space.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna pause.
I think the comment there about Netflix, right, is also, I think, yes, initially you may say, yeah, people are lazy and you want to make it easy. But also, like on the flip side, there's also the volume of content, right?
Sure.
That has grown, exponentially, and now, it's become a burden for the user to actually navigate.
Yeah.
Now it's the responsibility of the platform to say, how do we
Simplify.
make, how do we literally make this content library seem small, right?
Yeah.
Instead of just exposing the whole catalog and then having the users have to search through it. So I think they still have a lot of work to do. I've seen they've been trying, to optimize the thing, but I mean, it's still unwieldy, the amount of content on Netflix, right? Despite the personalization, right? It's still crazy. Because if you think about it, if you scroll through it, and you see 20, 30, 40, 50 things that have been personalized for you,
Yeah.
it's not so much personalization anymore, right? It starts to dilute the customization or the personalization, right? So I think they've got a challenge ahead of them. I think it's obviously quite a big model, and it's quite effective, but I think there's some challenges there.
Yeah, sure, definitely. Let me just
One last one, the marriage portal that you showed me. I mean, that reminded me. I mean, still, how disruptive it is now that there's metaverse where people are getting married. So, I mean, that's another advancement in terms of technology. I mean, that's another thing over there.
Yeah.
I mean, I have seen examples of people getting married on Meta, so that's quite disruptive.
Yeah. And then it's a huge opportunity for financial institutions, right? Not everybody has the same support as they go through like life events, and most of these life events in financial institutions, require finances some way, somehow, right? There's always a little bit of money or some funding required for something, and I mean, all these financial institutions have so much data with regards to some of that stuff, that I think it's going to be interesting how that idea evolves with regards to, say, I want to go on vacation or I want to get married, and then seeing what the financial institutions can do to support and guide that in an automated fashion. Yeah,
sure, definitely. Yeah. So I want to finish off, by this slide, and talk about like some few use cases in the financial services industry, right? The credit scoring, being able to analyze the credit worthiness, of customers using different data sources, right? Knowing if someone has bought a car, they took a loan, for their car, or maybe they took a home loan, etc. If they're paying, if their payments are on track, and so forth. Maybe if you've taken a life cover, have you fallen behind with the payments and so forth, right? Obviously, the financial institutions, they need to work together, right? And we need to be able to pass data, amongst each other, to make this experience to be available, right? So that we can get like a holistic view of a customer, right? And I mean, even to have like capabilities like 24/7, right, where you're able to link the different banks in South Africa, so that you can have a holistic, view of your financial activities. And so when you look at such, capabilities, right, it gets much easier, to analyze the credit score of a customer, and to be able to give them a loan, or to be able to, give them financial assistance, even if it's for like a short period of time, right? And being able to auto match and assign financial advisors, it's a use case that are just like shared now, real-time risk monitoring, right? Am I in the right country? Am I in the country where I'm usually at? Am I like, do I usually withdraw the same amount of money, and so forth, right? This like real-time risk monitoring, it's also tricky, because I was using LinkedIn, and I've been blocked. I was blocked actually even over the weekend because they thought that I was a bot because I was inviting people to attend the event, and because I hardly invite people, so I have to manually add people, etc. Right, and because I have to do it so fast, because I don't have time to just go through people's profile and read. I'll just add. As a result, they blocked me, and because they said, hey, we suspect that I'm using a bot linked to my account and so forth, right? That's how they're monitoring the risk, right? Obviously, I'm not a bot, and I can't easily reach out to LinkedIn now. And at some point, I hope that I'm not going to be blocked, but I now need to intentionally not to view people's profile, so I can just relax a bit. Hopefully, their algorithms, will give me a peace of mind, right? Conversational bots, for basic queries, we've seen quite a few of this. Customized financial education content, which is something that I just shared briefly, right? There's quite a lot, but I think I want to end here, and yeah, I think it's been an awesome engagement, and I know there've been some few questions from the audience, right? I want to end in the next 2-3 minutes. So there was a question from Charles Maguri, saying that I feel criminals can use your image to spread the wrong information, right? Comment rather. This is the reality, right? Again, some people are focusing on building authenticity. Some people are focusing more on making life easy by automating stuff, right? People have the same concerns about the internet. What does this thing mean, right? And we need to find ways to address them, right? And that means we have to care about our digital presence, digital identity, as much as we care about fraud in terms of our financial related accounts.
No, I guess that's a very valid point, and it's there. See, each technology has its own pros and cons, and AI with huge advancement and his with huge benefits, there are also cons, and as pointed out, that is one of them. See, that's why then one need to be very cautious now when using a digital medium. You already spoke about the financial aspect that's there.
Yeah.
But having said that, when there are ways where people can use your fake, they create fake videos, they can use your images. There are also ways to track them out also. So I think what is now required, because AI is so even if we look at it, when we have society, there's policing, right? But in the digital world, that the government and the policing, and they're still learning this new technology. They don't understand it. Once that comes into picture, I guess they will be more streamlined. But right now, yeah, as rightly pointed out, there are risks. There are a lot of gains out of it, but then there are dangers also.
Yeah. So the question about regulation, right? So because someone can use someone's face without their approval. So look, yeah, just like today, I can grab someone's picture online, paste it somewhere, etc. Right? And there's responsibility on both. Well, there are three parties, right? The regulation, from a government perspective, the individual, and the companies that are using the technology, right? We all need to play our part, right? Yes, even in the metaverse space, there's digital identity, linked to blockchain, etc., so that you can easily link back. Same concept that we have today, that people can talk, right? And if they can reference a tweet, they can go direct and see, okay, this tweet is actually from the owner, right? Unless they're hacked, but we'll assume that it's them. Same applies to LinkedIn and so forth, right? When you talk about the Internet of Things and also the authenticity of the information, right? How can we track it? How can we track its validity, right? Is it coming from the right source? And also what is the intention and the intended purpose, right? So those are like ongoing questions, and yeah, I know we've ran out of time, and yeah, I just want to thank everyone that has joined us. Yeah, thanks a lot, Avesh, for joining us, and thanks Mpumi, for actually opening up a discussion around this topic, because I know it was the interest, to follow up was based on the initial topic that you did previously. And yeah, so I also invited, Sharon, and I know you've had some technical issues, but I just wanted to, to invite you, to congratulate you. And yeah, again, we've got a live design battle tomorrow. And yeah, we hope that it's gonna be as fun like the one that we had. And yeah, so as I'm saying goodbye, to everyone. So guys, yeah, we've got a big, big news to announce on the 17th of May. This is only exclusive to our experience design community. So please, yeah, engage with us, follow us, volunteer, help us to grow, etc. So yeah, we'll see you tomorrow, and it's gonna be fun. Bring your wine, your beer, your snacks, etc. And let's watch, the African Design Committee, battling live. We'll give them, a brief live, and this will be a surprise. And they will have about an hour also and a half, to complete the exercise. And then after that, we'll ask the audience to vote until, next week, Wednesday. Cool. Awesome. Thanks, guys. And thanks for joining us. Cheers.
Cheers.